Welcome. Welcome, 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 wildflowers. I have to tell you, we're going to slow this down. Tune in. What did you bring to us today? We're making something. We're making something. We're creating something. It begins with vibration. A lot of vibrations, many vibrations can be transmuted. So if you're bringing something sort of gunky, I don't want you to be ashamed. I do want you to take responsibility for that. Meaning, be conscious. It takes work. It takes work to transmute stuff. But the critical factor here is we presence the joy. We presence the joy. And this is what we wrap ourselves around and with. You don't know how to feel it yet. Your goal is to feel it. And you expect that as you invoke a deeper joy, it's vibrational and it courses through you and it's going to stir stuff up. And so, along the way, we deal with the mess. But really, we're present at this coursing, gorgeous new vibration. It's here. It's already here. You have to trust that. And as you do, you begin to find the ways in which it's ready to meet you. To be present with this sense that this is liquid light. This is living pure life. It's seeking those who want to be this. And it is absolutely definite. It knows exactly who you are, where you are, what you need, what you want, what you can be, what you're not ready to be, that you think you are, that you think you want. And it positions, it seeps right into the spaces that you're ready for. It knows your limits. When you trust this, things work. To be present with this trust is like, oh my goodness. The number of people who were struggling, wishing you were in a different vehicle on a different road. To be present that you're where you belong. And if you want to get somewhere else, that's good too. It's good to have desire. It's essential. It's good to be motivated by the desire to change and transform. You just have to do it from where you are. So the honest ability to self-reflect and no, you're trying to teleport, right? You don't want to do that. Cultivating a sense that being right where you are is, you develop this sense of purpose and responsibility where anything that comes up, you practically want it to. Because you know that it's your work. And you want to get your work done. You don't want to teleport away. You don't want to just get out of the pain or the discomfort. You definitely do not want fear to drive you. And thus you can reorient on the joy. I'd like you to be present in any way in which you might be afraid of love. And just breathe with that. It's almost funny. With deep compassion. It's almost funny. Because true love, it wants to love you through all that as well. And if you have a sense that love is anything less than that, please come a little deeper. Come a little deeper. Let's keep this as simple as possible. There is a field of energy that is the new earth. It is the way the world can and will be. In 100 years, it will be dominant. Right now, it's not. Right now, the karmic ocean is still, it's not just present, it's all around us. It's the swamp. It's the swamp monster, and it's the muck that prevents any of that from draining. It's all of the above and more. It's all of history and more. We've been interacting within this swamp of gunk. Most of it is relatively unwanted. Yet amidst all of human history, great beauty has been created. Sacred fires, sacred flowers present throughout the swamp. Lotus flowers grow in the swamp. They transmute the muck into this incredible beauty. And these flowers have been lighthouses, beacons of hope amidst the muck. And they teach us how to transform, transmute, and become something new. And this is not just metaphorical. This is real. The first work is to sit down right where you are and realize you're in the muck, but muck is compost. When you stare at it, you often end up becoming it. When you step back and engage it as vibration, you develop the mechanisms, the ways that you can change it. So what does this look like? I want you to be honest with yourself. Do you have an addiction to conflict? What this means is, on some level, do you find conflict to be more present, more real than love, than joy? As someone who had an addiction to conflict, I will invite you to be present with the sense that there's this in-between phase when you commit yourself fully to transmuting it, where you just have to keep working again and again. You experience a desire to defeat someone else, and you insist. You change yourself into the kind of person that prays for them. And then you do it again. And then you do it again. And what you're saying is, it would be better to hug that person in trust than to punch them in the face. Shouldn't be too astonishing, right? And yet, in so many ways, we're still living in a world where the punch is dominant in entertainment and even in the cultural dialogues. This is seeming to presence these moments when an idealized version of your reality might be where you take someone who opposes your reality and you destroy them. Think about how sad that is. True victory comes in being so present with the way the world can be that you do destroy anything that stands in its way. Yet you do it with a degree of sadness, because a part of you is hoping that you'll be able to convert and invite anyone who opposes this beautiful new way. And yet you're also clear enough that you're like, okay, you're not going to come. Go back. Sink into the muck. Be that more. If you need to be that a little longer, you can do that. That's a choice also. I am not going to stay there. To stay in the joys is first and foremost to know you wouldn't be able to feel it if you weren't invited. And the invitation is the initial feeling. They're the same thing. The first time you feel these things, the goal is not to sustain exactly what you are introduced to. The goal is to treat that as a seed. It's a seed, an invitation, and a calling card. It is everything you need to transform yourself into one who's in tune with this new world. And to be in tune with the new world is to transmute the old way right where you stand, wherever you are. There are no, I want to say there's no rules to this. There are rules to these. Love wins. That's a good rule to start with. Love wins. Not only does love win, but love wants to redeem those who refuse to believe in love. Love wants to heal those who don't believe in love. And so to fully transform yourself is to begin to embrace this perspective where you feel sadness, compassion for those who are not ready. Where you look at those who still murder their enemies or celebrate when their enemies die. And you see that as the sickness that it is. It is quite possible to feel compassion for other people's fear and pain, and yet severely refuse to allow that sickness and pain to rule even them. To be present in their zone, in their vicinity, is to recognize them. Because right now, a life force is flowing into humanity, and it's flowing in with an incredible, vibrant, vivid presence. It's alive. This is not just liquid. Spirit is not just a liquid or a fire or an earthly metaphor. Spirit is something more than all these. And it's alive in a way that recognizes consciously where you are, what you want, what you need, what you're ready for, and what you're not ready for. And to be present with that trust is to let yourself be seen. To sit here knowing every single thing about you is just right there. Not a single thing about you, including every single one of your past lives, is hidden. Really. They can be looked up like a card catalog, down the vibes, expand. There you are. It's all there. And when you accept this, you do a tremendous honor to reality. Because when you accept it, you essentially flower. Spiritually, you flower. You open yourself and you say, okay, I get it. I can't hide. So not only will I stop trying to hide, I will become the one that recognizes that I'm seen. This is the step you can take. You can all begin to take this step. And it's present in a way that's really, honestly, it's beautiful. It's a little freaky. It's a little like going on a constant trip of sorts where you're entering the world and you're realizing, you're realizing that everyone around you, you can see so much about them. I discourage you from playing around with this too much because it is invasive and confusing. Ultimately, permission is great, but there's a difference between forcibly like boring into people when you see them and simply just walking down the street, picking up the basic things that people emit. Now, I'd like to introduce you to this distinction. There is a way in which there's certain aspects of ourselves that we're singing a song into the world. You can't silence your ears to what you hear. Now, in many ways we do, but we silence them to everything. Our spiritual ability to heal these vibrations is largely silent for many people. But as you wake up to it, the analogy shifts a little more towards vision, but they're both intertwined. We're trying to understand something that's neither really, but it's also both, because you'll end up interpreting it through vision and hearing until you get a little more comfortable with what's going on. People say I'm clairaudio or clairvisual. This is just an intermediate step to being more purely conscious with spirit. And you can interpret them through many ways. So sense this. You're walking down the street. Everyone's emitting frequencies. There is no shame and there is no invasion in being real about what they are. People are telling you who they are. Pick up on it. Now, I am discouraging you from staring at them and trying to figure shit out. That they will feel that. And they might not know it consciously, but they'll end up triggering in on you. It's not worth it. But it is worth it to walk around with just an awareness. They're aggressive today. They're wispy. There's a study in which thieves in prison were shown a series of video recordings of people walking down the street in New York City, and they all chose the same people as targets. They had a very vivid awareness of the kind of person someone is just by how they held their bearing. Now, they would refer to the pace, the posture. But really, this is an energetic awareness, and you could start it by being aware of pace and posture. But really, you're learning to tune in. The pace at which someone moves is a perfect gateway into recognizing their energy. And I encourage you to explore this. As you just pay attention to what you are aware of, you're going to start to be much more intentional. And what you're going for here is to stop overriding your instincts and intuitions based in mental priorities. Stop it. You know much more than you might think you know. And it's time to push into this edge because these are learned skills. You need to focus on these things in order to get better at them. And focusing absolutely helps you wake up. Now, here's what happens. You get to keep the joy. When you know what you know, when you stay aware of what you get to tune into your joy and keep it going. When you don't pay attention, you're going to move from one person to another, moving from one energy field to another without realizing that's what you're doing. Most of you are very empathic. It's likely that you wouldn't be here if you didn't have a more developed sense of empathy. Well, one of the shadow sides of empathy is you have a very easy time tuning to the people you talk with. And when you have an easy time tuning to the people you talk with, if you're not intentional, you will meet everyone where they are. It's the torture of awakening at first, where before you get good at this, you're just going to sort of walk around and meld to everybody. And it's very advantageous. You are the person who can get along with a lot of people because you can match their vibe. But it takes a toll on you. First of all, empathic people in this regard get very tired by the end of the day, frequently. But worse, it's not even just that you're expending energy shifting around so much. Some of those shifts are not good for you. And so we're cultivating this space where I want you to be quicker, to recognize your intuitions. Don't just misuse your empathic abilities to tune into everybody. Tune in a snapshot and say, is that where you want to go? It's hard at first because it's likely you're going to have to move through this resistance within yourself. You're picking up on information that other people don't even know exists on a certain level. And so there's a hesitation in many people's minds about implementing, about making decisions based on this information, because it's sort of like you're living in a magic fairyland, but it's also, there's an intrinsic insecurity, like no one would believe me. So you have to develop some side skills. Not only am I inviting you to measure more clearly who you're interacting with, I'm inviting you to do it and then measure what you're going to be able to communicate. Because a lot of people would get very threatened if you immediately start tuning in and telling them who they are and what they're feeling. You have to be very conscious about that. So you have to add another layer. Right away, you have to add 2 layers where you've likely had none. I'm suggesting, as an empathic being, first of all, you might not know or consciously identify that way, but get with it, you are. Then you're going to add 2 questions. Who is this person? Where are they today? What energy are they in? What are they able to hear from me? This second question is crucial because you need to know how to talk to them. If you've determined that they're on a vibe you don't want to be there, you don't want to be with that, now you have to have a graceful way to step around it because they might well be used to you just tuning to them. In fact, many such people will lock on to you because they know in your presence they feel more comfortable. So what you want to do at this point is to have a graceful, you're navigating around your challenges here. You're sort of like, there's a mud puddle over there. I'm going to step around it. And if somebody says, no, come step in me, come dive in my murk with me, you have to start cultivating the skill of saying no with grace, saying no with simplicity. And a lot of it depends on feeling. So what you're doing here, as you get better and better at this, you're feeling a vibe quickly. And you're saying, that vibe is not the right vibe for me. You don't need to say anything else. You don't need to judge. You don't need to determine. You don't need to categorize. You don't need to clarify or enumerate. You just need to know that vibe is not right for me. Okay. So what is right for you? Now, some of you, I would invite you to self-reflect honestly enough to realize you might not know. I suggest that all of you embrace all of you with a compassion for the many of you who are not good yet at determining on what you need day to day. You don't fully know. When people wake up, they're often so empathic and so aware that you sort of lose yourself. It's like, it's incredible. You're looking out in the world, and the world is much more amazing than you used to think. You sort of lose your grasp on who you are and what you need. So you have to start developing that as a basic attunement. When you develop a basic attunement, you know what to return to. And you're able to say, that vibe's not right for me. No judgment. I'm not saying you're a muck monster. I think you kind of are, but I'm not even going to say that. I don't need to. I'm just going to say that vibe's not right for me. I'm sorry, that doesn't feel right. When you start making statements like that, like, I'm sorry, that doesn't feel right for me right now, it could get testy. So you're going to say that in your head. Now you're going to say, I'm sorry, I need to do this. Do this. What is this? What is this? What is your this? What is your this? I suggest that one of the best ways to determine this is developing your practice. You develop a 20-minute practice, and that's your attunement. Now you know what you feel like. I did a maybe more like half hour, 40 minutes this morning at dawn. I got up, I watched the sunrise, I did my yoga, I meditated, and then I did several sets of other things later. When you get your groove going in balance, so it's not just forceful. If you do a forceful routine that's too aggressive, part of you is not going to like it. And so that part of you will sort of vote against doing more, even if you know how to force yourself through more. But if you're good with this balance, this is why we're integrating yoga with calisthenics so well. When you get this balance of strength, flexibility, and awareness, you're going to want more. And so you get up and you do another 10 of something. You stretch, you hop up in a difficult balance pose. And you're doing this to get the vibes going. You're tending the vibes within yourself. And when you tend the vibes within yourself, you get to keep feeling it. I feel this. I have this feeling in my body and my system that I'm just sort of permanently aware of this morning. I got it going well, and I know that I'm going to keep it going well. I'm not going to watch any media that takes me too far away from this. I'm not going to sit still too long. I'm not going to talk to anybody if they drag me too far off my vibe, or I'm going to take a little bit more of the reins of the conversation. I'm going to steer it in a direction that works for me. And I'm going to add levels of grace to how I do that because I want to keep the vibe strong and clear. To do this, really and truly, use not only your practice, but use it as a sense of lifestyle. In many phases of human history, people don't sit still. You've got work to do. For many of the major cultures, for some of which existed for thousands of years, you had a high proportion of the people involved in producing food. You couldn't even have that many people doing another job full time because who would feed them? Who's going to grow their food? The culture had to be good enough at producing extra amounts of food with smaller numbers of people before you could have people who weave, or stonemasons, or soldiers, or calligraphers and writers and accountants. They were active. And there's something very, very powerful about staying active. First of all, much of what goes well in life comes from using your body. You're moving blood. You're circulating your system. The blood picks up toxins, moves it through, moves it out. A lot of the movement of blood, a lot of the ability to squeeze things through comes as secondary motion. Your digestion, 50% of your digestion comes from movement. If you're not moving, you're getting sick. You might call it all sorts of other things. You might go to 5 different doctors to try to cope with it. But the root problem is you're not moving enough. And in a world where it's likely that many of you have jobs that do not require a lot of movement, You got to add that movement yourself. And the goal is not just to add significant practices, which are wonderful, but to add interspersing, really joyful, stretching, strengthening, balancing times. So in a couple minutes, 5 minutes, we're going to do a break. We always do this halfway through. Think of something that's going to build your heart rate in 2 minutes. Either do 10 push-ups and then hold plank for 30 seconds, or 10 squats and then hold it down low. So stay down in the low squat for 30 seconds or so and breathe. This is where I suggest you start. And you could alternate those every other day. Those are the best. Until you're good at those, do that. And you could do the 10 push-ups on your knees. It's absolutely wonderfully beneficial. And these are basic levels that are going to give you power and give you the ability to get up and down easily. So we're trying to add, it's not just beneficial in the moment, it's giving you the ability to live a better life. When you can get up and down quickly and easily, life gets so much better. Gets so much better. When you have the strength to pick something up quickly, you end up doing things you wouldn't do otherwise. When you can spring up the stairs easily, you stop hesitating to make a decision because it's up there and down here. You start looking forward to it. Let's just hop that up and feel a little alive. So we're trying to create practices that are cascading benefits. You're not only giving yourself the 2 minutes of a whoosh verve, you're giving yourself the ability to live a better life. And that begins to retune you. So what you've done here is you've put yourself in this vibrancy. When you put yourself in this vibrancy on a regular basis, you can afford to feel. I want you to be terrified of this little statement right here. For those of you who are not invested in a practice yet, I want you to be a little terrified. It is likely that you're afraid to feel because feeling is icky right now. Your body doesn't feel good, so you numb it out with media, with bad food. That's what people tend to do. Gets worse, you're adding alcohol or some other kind of drug. If you're doing that, you're doing it for a reason. You're avoiding something that's unpleasant. But you can cope with that unpleasantness with a little bit more work. Now, yes, it's easier to consume something than to do 20 minutes of practice, but come on, 20 minutes? And the gift here is you're making your body a nice space to be. You want to make it a nice space to be. You can't afford to let your spirit inhabit your body if your body's not a good place to be. It's sort of silly, but it's really straightforward. You can't let yourself feel if your feeling is typically negative. So the oddity of this experience of being a spirit living as human is you can actually start to cleanse out your body when you're still numb. So you start doing the work, you get yourself to move through basic patterns of movement, you invigorate yourself, and then lo and behold, it becomes a little more tempting to feel because there are more good feelings on a consistent basis. And then the transition occurs. Now you're feeling these good feelings. I get to feel this basic level of vibrancy. It lasts. And then when it slackens a little, when I feel it dim just slightly, I now have this regular boost in me, like, I want to spark that. So I do something that sparks it, and then it keeps going again. There's this momentum that is pretty reasonable. It doesn't have to take extraordinary amounts of time. I like saying 2 or 3 minutes. 2 or 3 minutes, and you boost yourself for the next hour. That's a tremendous gift. That's why we're doing this. 3 minutes in an hour. 3 minutes in an hour, and you get a vibrancy that lasts a whole nother hour. Well, lo and behold, your whole day ends up being better. But it's better in so many other ways too. Because now you have this barometer, and it helps you slice through the draws on your attention, the clinginess that people give you, the neediness that some media will offer you, or some gross food. That gross food is appealing because it cuts through your experience. It cuts through. It gives you a sweet or a salty or a greasy that's so strong that you can actually recognize it. And in a life that's lived numbly, that cut can drown out some emotional pain too. But it comes at a cost because you've just given your body an inordinate amount of shit to process. Now your body's gunked up. Now your body is a less pleasant place to be, and it takes a little more of that flavor to cut through. I've heard that some sodas are 5 times as sweet as they were 40 years ago, because people have to keep upping the dose in order for it to feel and cut through and get your attention. Be someone who changes this. Be someone who changes this. Let us help you. Let us help you. So 2 minutes. What gets your heart rate up? Do push-ups or squats. If you have questions, ask them. People here will help you. There are people here who have been training for years now. I'm going to get up and do something. That felt great. Heart, crown, throat, sacral, nose tip, solar plexus, diamond eye, lungs, root, chin, navel, third eye, heart. Following this time, we meet in the sanctuary. It's closed now. You are welcome to join. Memberships are currently $20. It's pretty reasonable. You get to keep it forever if you sign up. We're going to raise it next year. So consider. It's a holistic online health club. We have yoga classes, meditation every week. There are discussion forums. And most importantly, you're tapping into the community with a commitment to be present and a sense that your dues give you the right to be there. Now, a lot of people participate more. Some give extraordinary levels, parts of your lives. And the karma yoga of this is creating itself. We're making something it's feeding all of us, and it's helping all of us stay in a much higher vibe. So the presence that you bring to your life in this way, it feeds you, it returns to you. And many of you are not in a position you don't have communities around you that can reinforce this. So we're trying to create something that can support people all over the world, particularly when you're in in a place that doesn't necessarily have the kind of community that works for you, or perhaps it's just better for you to have this distance and this sense of connection through the internet, which does have extraordinary blessings and possibilities. Most importantly, something amazing is happening. Something amazing is happening. The new earth is reaching down through many of us all over the world and giving us missions. And these missions are like, it's like a gift. Like I was given this gift of a calling and said, bring this into the world and help make it real. But it all tunes into the new earth as she's becoming. And we get to trust that this investment, this spirit, it's a flow that keeps coming. It's like tapping into a stream that it keeps feeding you. And as it keeps feeding you, you actually learn to flow on and out further into the world. And that ends up taking a practical nature. Like there's some way in which your skills, your talents, your personality can fit into the world in a way that's understood. It makes sense to other people. You serve a role. You're a counselor. You're a yoga teacher. You're an accountant. You can play all sorts of different roles, but the essence of your interaction with people is passing on a spirit that they really need. This is how simple the new earth can be. It's not necessarily a radical departure from the life you know. You want to be a part of bringing a new earth to life, but within a community that perhaps they don't have this language. Perhaps they don't even want to hear the word chakra yet. You could do these. You could do these. We have a powerful and unique calling to presence these vibrations. And as we do, we're bringing the basic patterns of a new way of being into the world. And as we do that, we're offering first and foremost ourselves a space to rest, a space to retune, a space to come from when we make our decisions and know how to measure what's happening around us, what is worth our attention, what is out of tune with our needs and our presence today. As you get better at this, I highly encourage you. I start yesterday. Every day, wake up, create a basic morning routine. I cannot encourage you to do this enough. Basic morning routine. It should involve at least 3 to 5 minutes of sitting and a glass of water. That's minimal. You get up and sit. First of all, you'll find if you have trouble getting out of bed, to tell yourself you get to sit still at first is actually a really happy, like in between space. Don't just get up and fling yourself at duties. Get up, sit, take stock of the day. What you want to go for is 3 priorities. 3, just 3. 3 things you know are needed. They need to be done today. And they're a combination of your values and what's essential based on your responsibilities. And make sure those things happen. Make sure they happen and keep them focused. And you start to measure everything else against them. Like, don't let the other things infringe too much, take away too much from what you're doing. As you build confidence in yourself that you can do this, all sorts of other things cascade from there. Like you begin to develop a much deeper sense of purpose and potential because you build trust in yourself that you won't just get swept away by the pressures that you're under, by the next email. I try not to check my email until lunch because I know I can get derailed by a message. So as I've developed these disciplines, I'm like, I'm going to put into play what matters most early. And then I'll get to the other things a little bit later. No offense to all of you, but please appreciate, it's like we are trying to create a reality. And as we network with other people, we want to be making intentional choices about how to network and collaborate in a way that works and thrives. The secret truth is when you get good at making decisions about how to spend your time and who to trust, it feeds itself. Good connections are mutually beneficial. Everybody is left a little bit better, a little higher vibe. Each person helps emphasize the positive and the proactive and minimize whatever's painful, whatever's heavy. Just the act of holding space for someone when they're feeling down can be very healing. And if the trust is enough that the momentum stays uplifting, you can really experience an invigoration by taking care of someone. When I give a healing session, I typically end up feeling much better by the end because I'm letting a positive vibrancy move through me to affect someone else, to bless someone else. So as you get better at this, you're carrying a high vibe spirit through the world in a way that ends up being magnetic. You start magnetizing people who want to be with you in that. I want to just give you a quick, simple thing that I want you to keep in your head. If you regularly pray for victory over other people, so you're imagining, now I presume most of you don't imagine punching someone in the face, right? But movies gave us that. A lot of movies give legitimate rights to punch someone in the face, and that's what a cool guy is, right? Well, take a look at how your mind might do that. If you imagine success as your way of life, owning someone else, you're going to magnetize conflict. That's the way the law of attraction works. There seems to be a sort of an unspoken delusion that you could implement a law of attraction ideology in your life when you decide to. The reality is that our entire life is attracting. So the way we envision reality, even when we're unintentional, is attracting. Our wounds attract. Our confusion attracts. That doesn't mean everyone you meet is an exact equivalent to you, but it does mean you better be humble about why you're encountering what you encounter in your life. Don't just run around blaming. You know what blame does? It attracts more people to blame. I'm not kidding. If you get off, if you like flow a lot of energy through blaming other people for who they are, if you articulately deride other people, like, can you believe what this person did to me? I don't even want to do that again. Do you notice the energy that I emit when I say that? I create that. If I am regularly creating negative energy, describing other people who I try to assert it's their negative energy, but I'm the one that just amplified it. You do that, you're going to attract more. You ever encountered someone, or has this happened to you, where you just get in a space where just like 5 negative things happen in a row? It becomes a feedback loop. You know, the more negative things happen, the more negative things will happen because the energy of it magnetizes. That's why it can get hard to get out of a negative pattern. You're invested in it in ways you don't understand, and it draws attention to itself. It draws environments, it draws experience, it draws people, it draws the negative out of other people. You'll meet somebody who you'll think is a complete ass, but under normal circumstances, they're quite pleasant. You just happened to magnetize to their bad side. This is a terrible space to be. And I imagine most of you have a sense of this happening at least sometimes in your life. To know how to break it is to gain confidence that you won't ever have to get stuck in such a place. But it takes time and commitment. And the basic way to go about this, yet again, is with your body. When your mind and energy are off, you use your body. When your energy's off, you use your mind and your body. When your mind is off, you use your energy and your body. But when both your mind and your energy are off, and that's what happens when you get in a bad rut, you use your body. You take care of your body. You do something that makes you tired and builds strength and skill. You could generally take a bad mood and translate that into repeated, exhausting activity. And that is transmutation. It's basic transmutation skill. And it's absolutely the place to start. I've recently burst through another level of resistance by taking my worst moments of anger. I get triggered. I've gotten too triggered, and I keep saying it because I'm not satisfied with how bad it gets. So I keep putting it out here. World, I'm trying to change this. But recently I've had so much more success taking those moments of anger and going straight to doing something that's really hard. And lo and behold, what's happened is I've gotten stronger over the past year. I've been focusing on this a lot this past year. I've gotten much stronger. And in the process, I'm actually picking up, before I get angry, on the currents of energy within me, and I'm converting them into strength exercises. So I'm going straight to do another strength exercise before I get triggered. And then in the afterglow, I still feel the afterglow of this exercise. This is a hard exercise. I hope you didn't watch me. But what I'm doing is I'm balancing just on my hands without my elbows braced in. So it's a real strength exercise. And when I do that, I'm bringing something to life inside myself. In this glow, I don't get as angry. Like, I don't get triggered as easily. When I keep this going all day, I'm much more likely to be patient. And I'm finding, really and truly, I'm doing something often every hour. And sometimes I'm doing multiple things within the hour. Yesterday, I was sort of tired and grumpy, and my daughter wanted to play and practice acrobatic things. And I was too grumpy to be that giving. And that was sad. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I've got to do yoga practice now. And she's like, no, daddy, I want to do stuff with you. So I'm like, all right, I'll make a deal. I'll do one set and then I'll help you. And then I'll do another set and then I'll help you. And it worked. I found the rhythm. And she got funny about it. We would push until she was exhausted. And then she'd go, okay, daddy, do yoga. And then I do yoga. And then she'd do it. And then I do yoga. Just weave it in. You can weave it into your life. The gift of yoga and calisthenic exercises is you're using your body weight. So you carry it wherever you go. And as you do that, weave it in. Do something, get up, sit back down, process a little, get up, think while you're moving around, sit back down, type on the computer, whatever. This morning I generated several videos for the next several little AI videos, set the prompt, got up, did an exercise. It was done, set another prompt, got up, did the exercise, weave it in. It's kind of like, I don't know if you do these, but do you clean the dishes while you cook? You should. Clean the dishes while you cook. Don't do it all afterwards. Do it in between. You know what you'll find quite quickly? It doesn't take longer. You get all the dishes clean in the same exact time it takes you to cook. What were you doing with that in-between time? It wasn't efficient. You're going for efficiency here. Like, a good life is like juggling. You're weaving in multiple themes. And it's so empowering. It's so good for your self-esteem to watch yourself get better at these kind of skills. If you don't know where to start, just alternate. I cannot encourage you enough. Practice the invigorating flower. If you look on Wild Chakra Yoga, present in the description, practice the invigorating flower, 10 minutes. Those are 12 different exercises that are ideal breaks. They're just ideal. All on your feet. They all get slightly different parts of your body, but over time, you'll get good at determining which to use. For now, consider it a menu. There are 12 exercises that you can do whenever you're tired. Base level is the squats. I can't encourage you enough to get squatting down. I'm a big believer. You should be able to squat for at least 5 minutes. Just sit down there and do stuff while you're squatting. And if it doesn't come naturally, practice more. So you're down, but lean. Adjust. And do stuff. Do stuff like that. A lot of people cook that way. All right, enough. I say this a lot. All right. I have an instinct. Yep, I got enough time. Something is happening right now. I see it happening most commonly on YouTube. There's a movement of sorts, and it's uniting Eastern and Western. And I think it comes first, it's easiest to see first through exercise, through body stuff. By no means is it restricted to the body stuff, but it's starting here. And it's a really, really good place to begin. And what it's doing is it's uniting the gifts of sort of the gym and yoga. And the end results are really a better than both. And let me be present with why. Western society, as it is, has this incredible emphasis on being present in the body. It's been the most violent by far. Europeans are easily the most violent people throughout history if you look at a long span. They've been fighting for thousands of years. The Romans they never stopped fighting. When they won, they just started fighting themselves. It's absurd. Now, I know plenty of other cultures have been violent, but if you look at many other areas of the world, they went through extended times of peace in a dauntingly different history than Europe. Now, Europeans came over here to the United States and just clean slate, killed everybody. It's down to like a 20th the population that was here, number of indigenous peoples who are still alive. The slaughter is just... And this violence has translated into a mentality that is still making us sick. So all these shootings, it's coming from this mindset of dominance. And when there isn't something direct to fight, you start manifesting, you start becoming paranoid if you stay with this mindset. So to add yoga in is just exquisite medicine. But it's not necessary to just be still. In fact, in India is a much hotter climate for the most part. So the gift of movement within yogic patterns is that you build the heat. And if you don't do that early in your practice, you don't have enough heat to really get yoga to work. Now, if you're in a 90-degree environment, you can go straight into a deep stretch, you'll sweat. But if you're not, you need to build that heat. So by repeating within yogic frameworks, so you're repeating a yoga pose, left to right, to left to right, to up, to down, to up, to down. You're doing both correct alignment, correct balance, and you're strengthening yourself because the repetition builds the strength so that by the 10th, you stay. Now you stay for 30 seconds, and that builds a different kind of strength. And this integration is not just physical. It's in the spiritual resonance. It's in the presence of the resonance you admit. We're uniting what we've known of as Eastern and Western. And this is absolutely the precursor to bringing a rainbow to life within yourself. To unite the strengths of different ways is to find a way to harmonize them, much like you would harmonize music. But to get into this, you have to resist the urge to cater too much to any one tradition. My personal experience is that yoga was such incredible medicine for me when I was going through my awakening that I was very reverent to it as it was for a long time. And I felt both humble because this pulled me out of the darkness and out of the swamp, but also hesitant because I didn't know how to make it my own. What's happening now is it's just extraordinary. I started yoga a good 5 years before YouTube existed, 10. And watching that change has been really extraordinary because now enough people are just forging our own paths, but in a similar way that it's a lot easier for everyone else to trust. And what's really happening is people are getting direct lines to spirit. See, for a long time, there was a certain depth of spiritual vibrancy that you could not access as a human being without an extraordinary discipline and adherence to a way. The initial teachers in the East have a very high emphasis on lineage. And what they are literally doing is when their teacher dies, they actually keep talking to their teacher telepathically. Now, many of them knew exactly that this was happening. They knew exactly. And so they preserve the lineage, but they can't break it. If they lost that lineage, they were left in chaos. So the lineage itself maintains a spiritual integrity that then they're able to pass on. Now, when you pass it on in that way, you're not passing on a direct experience of the highest vibrancy. There's a downgrading of sorts. So it can only make it like 2 or 3 steps past the master in this context to work. What's happening right now is that the new earth is so present, the crystalline grid, the Christ consciousness grid, is so present in the 3D material reality that it can activate this potential in you, and you get direct. You get direct. Every place is sacred. Used to be that people gathered in churches or temples to create a sacred vibration. And if you're only a little bit aware, you can feel the vibrancy in a place of worship. Like whether you agree or disagree or with the premise, you can feel what it is when a lot of people come together in a reverent space. Even if it's kind of half-assed, like they drink, they cheat on each other, but still they're doing their best to be reverent in the same space. It charges the vibe up. The vibe is present in the space. But now it's present everywhere. You are called to recognize that you have the potential to make a direct link to this depth of spirit within yourself. Now, really, you are encouraged to realize that it's both internal and external, meaning there is a literal presence of vibrancy coursing through the world that you can access wherever you go. It's like there are veins of spirit just dancing through the air that will take away everything you don't need, and that the same channels are arteries carrying you. The new earth vibrancy, the sacred blood of what is to be, of what is birthing now. It's here. And really, this is activating something that's just always present in you anyway. You have the presence of Christ in you. Pure light, oneness with the earth. There are no sides to the earth. There are no sides to the earth. In order to take sides, you have to develop constructs, and you have to actually get your enemies to agree with them, to polarize within a construct. If your enemies don't agree, it doesn't work. People have done that for thousands of years because it creates this sort of half-assed spiritual stability. That's what bad is. And the other side is saying, that's what bad is. That's what bad is. That's what bad is. It gives them some degree of coherence amidst the chaos. It's very spiritually lazy. It does take more work to identify with pure light. You no longer have the ability to dump your psychic garbage. And it's so worth it. Yes, you have to do more work, but you have access to this experience of being what a part of you knows is right. It's true. It's correct. There's this spiritual integrity that's like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be. And it's odd. It's like the most extreme, euphoric feeling from the mountaintop, the peak overlooking all of reality, and the most normal, incredibly straightforward. Yeah, it's supposed to be like this. See if you can put those two feelings together. Euphoric pinnacle of existence, the best of the best that you can imagine, and, that's right. This is what I've been going for. Feel this. Feel this perfection beyond perfection. Transcending models, transcending structures, and accepting the earth's presence. And really what you're doing is you're just agreeing to be here. You'll find that some part of your psyche is still trying to preserve a degree of independence. And it's a little bit absurd. You're here. Be here. And while you're here, she will still let you fight. She'll introduce you to people who want to fight. Likely, she'll introduce you to people who want to fight, who like fighting more than you, because she sees you. She'd like you to get over it. She'd like you to be present and participate in creating this new earth. She wants it more than anything. Yet she loves you so much that she will still hold space for you to fight if you need to. But make no mistake, the life force is coursing through all of us now on levels that have never been seen before. It is unique to this time. And the same vibrancy that's carrying you, the spiritual essence of a new world, will invigorate everything you prioritize. And if you prioritize a fight, you will feel angrier. If you prioritize a fight, you will feel your fear twice as loud. And if you have within you the willingness to react, to act out of fear, to make choices based in your fear, and to construct a reality that gives you the right to be violent or even just rude, well then, that's what will happen. That's what you'll do with your new spiritual allowance. And you're going to watch a lot of people behave this way. And I invite you to preserve your integrity, to insist that this new investment of love stay with love, to insist that this new spiritual vibrancy get channeled into creating a positive potential. And do it. And do it in the face of whatever is occurring around you. Do it anyway. Do it anyway.